Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast. I'm your host, Neil C. Hughes, and once again, we have an exceptional guest, an all-round nice guy joining us today. He's the CTO of Cognaize, a company making waves in the financial technology sector. And my guest today is not only the driving force behind this innovative approach to AI in banking and finance, but he's also a senior lecturer at the Frankfurt School of Finance and Management. So he has a wealth of insights on AI, particularly his critique of popular models like ChatGPT that have garnered attention from some of the world's leading financial institutions. And having recently closed a Series A funding round, his perspective on the collaboration between humans and AI models in financial decision-making are more relevant than ever. It's an incredibly exciting topic, but I don't want to reveal any spoilers. So if you're interested in an innovative approach to AI in banking and finance and a hybrid approach to AI, you're going to love this one. So buckle up and hold on tight, because I'm going to beam your ears all the way to Frankfurt, where today's guest is waiting to join us today. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Vahe. I'm the founder of Cognaize, and I am leading product and technology right now.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me today. What I try and do every episode is demystify some of the complex technologies out there. And one of the things that put you on my radar is the concept of hybrid intelligence approaches. So just to set the scene for our conversation today, can you elaborate on what you mean by hybrid intelligence in AI, and how does this concept differ from other AI approaches that are commonly used in particular, financial services?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. I think that from the beginning of AI, we always looked at it as a replacement of humans, right? Even if we look at the first test, if something is identifiable as AI or not, we compared it to what a human would do, right? So basically, we always saw it as a replacement of it. I think that's a wrong view on it for several reasons. So right now, where we have achieved a computational universality with language models, and these also show actually strong cognitive capabilities, I think the meaningful cooperation with humans and AI is important for the judgment layer. So AI is very good at doing predictions, but AI should not do the judgment layer. So let me give you an example. You can predict with AI if it's going to rain tomorrow or not. But if you take an umbrella or leave the umbrella at home, should be a decision a human does. Why? Because a human is the person who can suffer. AI cannot suffer. And if we can suffer, we should also be entitled to do the judgment on predictions. So I think it's really important to meaningfully combine AI with humans so that the judgment layer is always left with humans.
100% with you on that. And of course, you've been very vocal about ChatGPT not being the ideal solution for financial services. So can I ask you dive deeper into some of its limitations and how your technology addresses some of these issues too?
I think it is not an adequate solution because while it obviously is a great technology and really demonstrates the forefront of what is possible with AI, at the same time, it is just way too large and also has tendencies of hallucination. There are two things that for the financial industry are not good. So the first thing is because it is so large, it needs special hardware, and very few companies in this whole world can actually deploy this model. I don't know of any bank who would be able to do that. So at the end, it means as a bank, you are doing, or as a financial institution, you're doing API calls, and that data is gone. I think the financial industry and especially banks should be very careful how they treat customer data, because the ultimate product that they are actually selling is trust. So they should, irrespective of regulation, not betray the trust of their customers. And the second thing is hallucination, and hallucination is really more of a feature than a bug. But in the specific case of the financial industry, I think it is a problematic, and you have to deal with it. We solve this by downscaling these models. So we sit on top of basically all the commercially available open source language models, and then fine tune and quantize them, which means we make them runnable on much smaller hardware. And because they are targeted for a specific purpose, we eliminate mostly, or actually one could say entirely, hallucinations.
And just to get a better understanding of the right way that the role of AI in financial decision-making might look like, what would you say are some of the key ways that AI can augment human expertise in financial decision-making? And conversely, where does it still fall short, and how does your approach bridge some of these gaps?
Yeah, so I mean, AI doesn't fall short of much these days, to be honest. So I'm sometimes asked, how would a company look like when AI is more intelligent than humans, or and readily available for everybody? And I always say it's like hiring 1,000 Einsteins, right?
Yeah.
So what's possible from there? A lot, actually. So it doesn't fall short of much, but where it can be used and should be used is twofold. So one, of course, intimacy. So any corporation, any company selling some kind of service needs to build intimacy with its client, and obviously with a technology such as generative AI it's much easier to build this intimacy. Of course, there's regulation around this and also ethical standards around this to be sure that people know that they're interacting with artificial intelligence rather than with people. But the days of having a static website that serves every client and potential client in this world, I think are numbered, and it is much more about direct communication of an institution with a respective client. And that is now possible, of course. And then the other side of it is AI can, of course, help to streamline all the decision-making within a corporation and also within a bank, which are things like starting from, creditworthiness all the way to internal rating models. All these things are now much easier to be built with artificial intelligence than they were before.
And before you came on the podcast, I was doing a little research on you, and I quickly learned that you're an advocate for making financial decisions based on all data. And by that, I mean both structured and unstructured. So can you explain a little about the technology that enables you to achieve this, and just to bring this topic to life for people listening?
Sure. I mean, actually, the term unstructured data is somewhat a funny term, because obviously no data is really unstructured.
Yeah.
As if it would be unstructured, humans wouldn't be able to read it either, right? And interpret it. But humans are very capable of reading a PDF document with financials in it. It's just they are unstructured for a computer, which means computers struggle with processing that information. And as a result, we are not using most of this information in a decision process. That, of course, should change, because if we add more information to it, then we can derive at a better decision. I mean, there are phenomenons and areas where too much information is actually not meaningful. For example, in healthcare. But in the financial industry, I think where these models are pretty well understood, it makes a lot of sense to enrich them with as much data as possible.
And I think I should also highlight that you guys also recently closed a Series A funding round. So what does that financial milestone mean to you? And also, how does it indicate, or what does it indicate about the industry's perception of your hybrid approach? It feels like an incredibly exciting time.
I hope nobody gets offended, but actually it means nothing to me. Because the goal of a company is not funding. The goal of a company is to make profit, yes, for its shareholders, but also, and I think this is more important, to solve a pain point for customers.
Yeah.
And I think we do that very well. And we have a series of, big customers that trust us with important work. That is a relationship that is going on for years with many of those customers. We never lost a customer. We are, adamant in relentless in serving them to solve their pain points. And I think that matters a lot to us. And the Series A is just a manifestation of that success, basically.
Love that. And something else we should mention here, obviously the financial services are tightly regulated and have so many different ethical implications. I'm curious, as somebody right in the heart of this space, how are you navigating things like compliance, ethical considerations, especially when integrating AI with human decisions? From the outside looking in, it sounds incredibly daunting, but can you expand on that and how you navigate these uncharted digital waters?
Sure. First, yes, the financial industry is tightly regulated, but I think ethical considerations sit on top of those. So any institution should have their own ethical standards and obey those, irrespective of regulation. We certainly do. We have our own ethical standards, which, to some extent even are similar to what the European Union has just a couple of days ago decided. When it comes to financial institutions, there's of course also a stricter regulation than for many other industries, and it should be that way because it is an important industry. Our hybrid approach is actually more of a solution than a problem for this, right? Because as soon as you integrate humans to it, then there are people who are accountable, there are people that can suffer, people that have, standards and so on. So actually, it is a solution rather than a problem to integrate humans in the decision-making process and not just leave it to AI.
And you are also a senior lecturer at Frankfurt School of Finance and Management. So one of the things that stood out to me about you is you've got both an academic and practical perspective on everything that you're seeing here. So with all that in mind, plus the fact that we're right at the end of 2023, lots of people making predictions about next year, what emerging trends or technologies do you foresee in shaping the future of AI in finance in 2024 and indeed beyond?
I mean, in finance, I think in AI, I think it has been an interesting year. The last year was very, very interesting and very surprising to some extent. So to be honest, I certainly, if I would bet if AGI, so artificial general intelligence, is possible or not, of course, I would say it's possible. But I would say the way to it is through robotics.
Yeah.
Just because this is how the human mind probably works. I mean, we know not much about the brain, but what we know, it seems like we have thousands of models of things that we then path integrate together. So location plays an important role. I think weirdly or funnily, or Kant was probably right. It turns out, though, that you probably can achieve AGI without robotics and without an understanding of a location in the world by just through language. I think Harari is right when he points out how important language is, and it seems to me that we are on the cusp of actually achieving AGI. I don't know if it will happen in the next 12 months, but it will definitely happen in near term, not far term. I would even argue that if you look at the ChatGPT right now and similar products, it's not just ChatGPT, right? They are, I don't want to sound bad, but probably they are already more intelligent than at least a portion of humanity. So the question is, will it really be as intelligent as the average or even more intelligent than a human? I think that is close to happening. I think it will happen in a inadequate way, meaning that the resources necessary to run such models will be so vast that only very few use cases can be covered actually by that technology. But then companies like us, and there are obviously others, will make it adequate for specific use cases. And generally, I think that besides AI, I think that gene editing is the next, with bringing down the cost of gene editing with CRISPR-Cas9 has a huge effect. And now if you combine this with AI, you suddenly get to a very fast loop of innovation that can certainly do great things, but also be dangerous.
Wow, so much food for thought there. And given the rapidly evolving landscape of financial technology, and for everybody listening right now, is there any advice that you'd offer to a traditional financial institution, maybe looking to integrate AI in a more meaningful way? Because I think there's so many different businesses in every industry. They're trying to work out what is their AI narrative, where do they fit in all this. But what advice would you offer to that traditional financial institution listening?
I mean, I think you need a multifaceted approach, right? You cannot just do one thing. You need to educate staff, and that is not only staff, it's really all the way up to the board. And you also probably need to work with partners to expedite this. There was this interesting saying, I think Solo was the person who said it, that you can see computers everywhere except in productivity numbers. That was when computerization started, and productivity actually declined rather than gaining. I think that this time around, every company is asked to actually avoid that. And I think it's possible to avoiding this. Of course, it's possible working with us, but also other companies. And what I would do if I were in a financial institution is I would work with a set of partners, not just one partner, and also strongly work on educating own employees.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for coming on here today and sharing your invaluable insights into everything that you're seeing, and also making a few bold predictions. But before I let you go, I'm going to ask you to leave one final gift for everyone listening. We are at that time of the year where we might have a little bit more time to pick up a book and learn something. So if is there a book that has inspired you or means something to you, or just a book that you would recommend to everyone listening to this podcast today, what would it be? And we'll add it to our Amazon wish list.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are so many interesting books right now. I think it's really the last couple of years have been the years for readers. My personal favorite author stays Simon Singh.
Yeah.
And my favorite book is, I think in English it's called Fermat's Last Theorem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all his books are really great, but the way he writes a romantic story about mathematics is so beautiful. So I can only recommend Fermat's Last Theorem.
Fantastic. Well, I'll get that added straight to our Amazon wish list. And for anybody listening, wanting to find out more about you, your work, your technology, or connect with your team, where's the best starting point for everything?
Well, I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn. Please connect. You can also think I have also a Facebook account and an Instagram, although I'm not using it much. But I think the best way to start is either through our website or through LinkedIn.
And can you just remind me of the website? There are that many different URLs now and different domain names at the end. What's the website for the company?
Here it's cognaize.com. So it's COGNAIZE.com.
Awesome. I'll get that added to the show notes so people can find you nice and easily. So much I love chatting with you about today, especially demystifying what you call this hybrid intelligence approach to AI and how it's being used at some of the world's leading banks and financial institutions. And I'd love to find out more about how that evolves next year, especially that collaboration between humans and AI models and the real benefits that bring, that business value. But more than anything, just thank you for sharing that with me today.
Thank you.
I don't know about you, I just loved hearing more about the intersection of AI and financial services and my guest's unique approach, advocating for a hybrid intelligence where AI complements rather than replaces human expertise. It's not only thought-provoking, but also testament to the evolving landscape of AI in the financial sector. And as we wrap up today's conversation, for me, it's clear that the journey towards effective AI integration in finance is complex and multifaceted. But if we zoom out for a moment, his predictions for the future of AI, especially in the realm of finance, and his advice for traditional financial institutions, for me, I think it reflects a deeper understanding of both the potential and the pitfalls of current AI technology. So a huge thank you to him for sharing his expertise. And for everyone listening, I hope this episode has given you a different view of the role that AI can play in transforming the financial sector. But if you are already in that place, you may have a few things that you'd like to share with me too. So email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @NeilCHughes. I always try and connect with every single person that listens to this show. So when I give you my details at the end, it's not just a throwaway line. I genuinely mean it. And one of the most common questions I get is, Neil, you're a tech podcaster doing a tech podcast every day. What tech podcasts do you listen to? Well, if you're a business leader, chances are that you've probably had to confront the question of whether you should bring Macs into the enterprise. Because yes, it is a PC world, maybe a Chromebook world in some organisations, but there's no avoiding the fact that some users prefer Mac devices and their platforms. So when I was looking at learning more about how businesses can adopt Mac across their business and its upsides and overcoming challenges and complications, I came across a podcast created by SHI, and it's called We Got Your Mac. Essentially, We Got Your Mac is a podcast that is trying to help business leaders understand the pros and cons of Mac adoption. And the hosts, Victoria Barber and Kevin English, they lead their listeners on a journey from discovery to deployment with thought leaders and specialists from the world of Apple Mac. So they explore questions like, is your employee experience suffering by only offering one platform? Can you drive productivity with a device choice? And do Mac platforms help support innovation? Because adopting Mac at scale isn't purely an IT decision, it's a business decision. So the show doesn't get super technical, but rather it's on a level that everyone can relate to. And as you all know, that's something I try and do with this podcast too. I've listened to the first few episodes and I'm excited for the rest of the season because they've already released episodes on topics such as building the business case, understanding the total cost of ownership, and collaborating in Windows-dominated workplaces. And they have episodes coming out every few weeks. So if this is something that would interest you, I thoroughly recommend it. Why not give it a listen? Subscribe to We Got Your Mac wherever you get your podcasts, or go to wegotyourmac.com where you can access all the episodes and great bonus resources for business leaders like you. And before I let you go, 2024 is a new year, and any extra reviews and ratings we can get on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to this show really will help this show remain relevant and attract great guests like today's onto the show throughout the year. And I cordially invite you to join me again tomorrow. So thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.